Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for tuning in. My name is Carl Sterling. You're listening to Your Health Matters. This is on News Radio 570, WSYR, also available on 106.9 FM. We have a guest with us today who is one of my favorite people to talk with, as the subject we're going to talk about today is one of my favorite subjects. And you'll understand as we go through the show why that is for me one of my favorite things. And his name is Micheal Long. He is a co-author of a book called The Molecule of More, which, of course, you won't see it if you're listening to radio, but if you go to YouTube, you're going to see the cover right here. Well, this book really described a lot about myself to me and some of my behaviors throughout my life. You all know, you listen to me every week, or if you've heard me before, no secret heavy drinker I used to be. Well, I understand more about that now. But I got the good news, folks, because there's another book coming out on April 15th, which he is the author of. It's called Taming, the Molecule of More. So, Micheal Long, thanks a million for
There,
joining
I
me.
can hold up a book. There you go.
Ah,
Hey.
yeah, there we go. I love it. Thanks for joining. It's great to see you, man.
Oh, Carl, you're my friend, man. It's always good to get to talk to you. One of my newest friends, and we've instantly gotten to be simpatico.
I just love it, man. So, this first book here, that's a deep dive for me into the story of Carl's life.
I'm glad and sorry to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny. I was listening to this thing on the radio this morning about ADHD, and that's me all the way. But I'm no doctor, but I'm going to say that the medications they're giving for that, maybe it's okay. I don't know. I mean, maybe some people need it. I'm going to be 64 real soon, and I think I've learned how to manage it. But I've also learned how to manage the addiction side for me, because food and alcohol and all that stuff. But, this new book, I can't wait to get it. I already pre-ordered. And so tell us, in the taming the molecule of more, what's the central premise of the book? Like, how does it build upon the original idea introduced in the molecule of more?
Sure. It's one thing to know how dopamine works, what it does to your mind and your body, how it affects your behavior. That's all very interesting stuff, as you just said. In this book, I take that information, how dopamine affects us, what it does, and I tell you through specific problems how you can make those problems better in your life.
That's great. What's an example?
Oh, gee. Well, let's start with things like a common question, which is why do I end up unhappy in a relationship? In fact, let me just list some of the things that this touches because there's so much going on. Uh, Dopamine is, as everyone should understand, is the molecule of wanting more. We often hear that it's the molecule of happy, and people will say, "Ooh, I just did that and I got a dopamine buzz." That never happens. You don't get a dopamine buzz from doing something.
Yeah.
You get a dopamine buzz, which is a feeling of great anticipation, great promise, great optimism and hope. You get a dopamine buzz from not doing something, from thinking about what it might be like to do it. That feeling you get on Christmas morning before you open the presents, that's a dopamine buzz. And
I
it
just
turns
had a
out,
dopamine buzz just
oh,
now
did you
because
now?
Elizabeth brought me coffee and I didn't sip it yet.
Ooh,
But
very
guess
good.
what?
This moment, this is a good example. The
This
moment right,
this
this
first
is it
sip
right
right
now.
here.
And now it's over.
Mm.
And now it's over.
And the second sip is never as good as the first. I mean, it's pretty darn good though with this coffee. But
Mhm.
so I can totally relate to this on so many levels. To me, this is fascinating because, like we talked about a couple times before when we've gotten together, is it a lot of times it's mistaken. This dopamine is mistaken as the happiness or the feel-good neurotransmitter, but that's not really the case. It's the anticipation.
That's right. There, there are
Excuse me.
there are many, we'll say, neurotransmitters as opposed to hormones,
Sure.
neurotransmitters that operate in the brain. and they are the way that well, I don't want to get in too deeply into the neuroscience. I'm very fascinated with the neurology of this. And so I'm going to set
Mhm.
that aside because when people hear this, they're like, yeah, Mike, don't indulge yourself. Tell us what we need to know. Well, here's what you need to know. There are all these neurotransmitters in your brain that affect how you feel and behave and what you do. And we can set them into two groups. One group is just dopamine. The other
Mhm.
group is everything else. Everything
Oh.
else. Dopamine deals with anticipation. The
Mhm.
others we're going to call the here and now neurotransmitters. And those deal with how we feel when we interact with our senses, when we see something, when we taste something, smell something, touch something. Those are all an action in the moment, while dopamine is about something that is in the future. And
Mm.
that's where the division begins.
So that is something that in the first book really caught me. Like, okay, the here and now. You made it. I made it to the first sip of coffee. I mean, I have no problem dealing with it when it's done. Because there's always more. But also, so let's take a different example. Oh, here's an example. My son and I years ago, he was living in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the Harrisburg Symphony was going to be playing on the front lawn of Hershey Medical Center, which is where he did his PhD and his MD. Earlier that day, he says, "Hey, let's go see the symphony. We'll ride our bicycles over." And so what happened was, I get to be 10 minutes before showtime, and he looks at me and he says, "I think the idea of seeing the symphony might be better than actually going. How do you feel about it?" I said, "Yeah, I was looking forward to it all day, except right in the past few minutes, I think I don't really want to go." I don't know if that relates at all, but
Oh, that's a perfect
but
example.
it's like once we get there, we're gonna maybe hear some music that we like or don't care about, or who knows, neither one of us don't appreciate classical. It's just not our first choice to listen to anything. And so the dopamine immediately wore off right before we were going to leave because it just seemed like, no, we're not going to go. Am I on track here at all?
Oh, this is a perfect example, Carl. And there's one word I'll change because it'll be so illustrative. You said the dopamine wore off. No, it didn't wear off. It
Okay.
turned off.
Oh,
It turned off is what
thank you.
happened.
Okay. Yeah.
Speaking of dopamine, here's my lovely wife.
Hi.
She's anticipating apparently going to the dentist, from what I can tell with
Oh,
there. So, um,
there's no dopamine in that, is there?
there's no dopamine in that. There's just dread. It's the
Yeah.
dread
That's a
neurotransmitter. But
different book. Yeah.
that's a different thing. Yes. The looking forward to something is a great feeling.
Mhm.
And once we get the thing, it's never as good as we hoped it would be. Sometimes it is, but not very often. Let me give you a cool example of what you just said about thinking all day about how good it would be. Um, uh, in The Great Gatsby, which I talk about in my new book, there's a
Mhm.
passage in The Great Gatsby where a man is about to finally kiss the woman of his dreams, and for a whole paragraph he holds forth talking about the feeling. Actually, the narrator, and he says, "In a moment, when I kiss her, all this will be over. When I kiss her, it'll never be as good. But for this moment, it's as good as it can ever be because it's the perfect imagining of what she will be to me."
Yeah.
He calls it a tuning fork struck upon a star.
Oh man. With that said, we need to go to break in a few seconds. That reminds me of, and please forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. Not that I have the inherent need to be right. I'm just saying the Howard Hughes syndrome. Howard Hughes used to chase women, chase them, chase them, chase them until they finally said yes. As soon as they said yes, he had no more interest. He never did anything with most of them, right?
That's it.
That's it. They said yes, the chase is over. I got what I want if I want it, and I don't want it now, so let's chase another one. Okay, with that said, folks, we're gonna chase a sponsor. We're gonna hear from a sponsor here when we come back from the short break. We have Micheal Long with us talking about his new book to be released April 15th, Taming the Molecule of More. We'll be right back after this short break. Okay, that's We're back with Michael Long. I love this topic. Love all this neuroscience stuff, but especially when it comes to dopamine and how it relates, let's say, to behaviors. And I think we get stuck in this if we are not aware of what it does to us or its potential. We might get caught up into different things. And I mean, it could ruin our life, really. I mean, people have ruined lives through different addictions and this and that. It doesn't have to be drugs either. Could be gambling, could be relationships. You get into a relationship. Oh, if I get married, I'll be happy. 6 months later, 2 months, a year, whatever, you're not happy. I mean, this is classic. And sad, but let's talk more about what is the taming part here? I'm curious, like with the title, let's talk about taming this molecule to maybe make our life better because we understand it better.
Let's start with the extreme case, and that is the case of addiction.
Hmm.
And people who have been addicts or who are addicts now, we'll make that distinction for our purposes here. Um, they understand that as an addiction progresses, it takes more and more stimulation to get less and less feeling.
Mm, yes. Okay.
More and more stimulation to get less and less feeling. And these things begin with the idea that I'm going to do this activity, take this substance, and I'm going to have a good feeling for it. And and so one does that. And then instead of saying, okay, well, I'm done with that, I've had it, that feeling returns. Ooh, I bet I can have it again. I would like to have that again. But the brain lowers the barrier each time. So it takes a little bit more to feel a little bit less each time. Now, how that applies in things like behavioral problems. I'm not going to say a disorder necessarily, but let's say with problems. And again, I'm not a physician. I'm not a physician. Um, I'm somebody who's studied neuroscience and who's thought about this and worked a great deal with my companion on the first book, Dr. Dan Lieberman, who is a
Hmm.
psychiatrist. The thing that happens when you find a thing you want is you pursue it to the detriment of living in the moment. Uh, there are people who say, I'm going to make $1 million and I'm going to dedicate my life to making $1 million. And they work and work and work. And they say, well, do you want to go have dinner tonight? Do you want to go hang out with the family? No, no, I'm working to get that $1 million. I've got to work a few extra hours. And so they work a few extra hours. And let's say that they do indeed succeed. They're driven. They know when they get that $1 million, life is going to be perfect. And when they get that $1 million, how do they feel? Well, you would predict that, oh, now I have $1 million. Now I'm going to kick back and have a good time. Now I'm going to buy the boat or whatever you're going to do with your
Hmm.
$1 million. That's not what happens.
Hmm.
What happens is, what else can I get? It's not the having of the stuff. It
Hmm.
is the pursuit of the stuff that gives them that great stimulation. Oh, someday I'll have 1 million. When I do, I'll be a happy man. And then when they
Hmm.
get there, their brain is already tuned to naturally pursuing more things. And that's what a high level of dopamine does, is it tunes our brains to just pursue. And so when I talk about, to go to your original question, when I talk about taming the molecule more, I'm talking about number one, understanding that this is our natural inclination. And number two, finding ways to tame that feeling, to counterbalance that feeling. In particular, it means to realize, yes, anticipation is a gorgeous, attractive feeling, but
Hmm.
so is living in the moment.
Yeah.
You have to do both in order to succeed, survive, be happy, and ultimately to have meaning.
Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna interject a little story here. This hour is about you and your book, but for listeners, I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna interject a little story. Um, the two parts. Number one, last year on October 18th, my mother passed away. It was unexpected because she was doing well at her July physical. She was 88, turned 88 July 10th last year. Blood work came back fine. Late August, she had pain and this and that, and things weren't right, and something was wrong. She went to the hospital, you know, went to the doctor a few times. Then we went to the hospital October 12th, I think. Anyways, that same day she entered the hospital, we knew it was imminent. Her cancer with the pancreas had metastasized to 6 other organs in her body, I believe, and there was no way out. Oncology couldn't do anything. So why this is relevant here is because I knew we had limited time. So we actually had 6 amazing, beautiful, connecting days after a long time, not so recent in the past 15 years or so, but a childhood and afterwards for a while of really severe turmoil. Heavy drinker she was. So was my dad. I didn't know that though until later. The thing is that I thought about this book because of the here and now chemicals. Between her knowing she's going to pass and hearing her reveal so many truths about things I'd always wondered that she was never willing to talk about. We connected at such a deep level. First of all, I was in the here and now more than I've been in my entire life. And it was the most beautiful thing. And although it was extremely sad and I miss her terribly, it was the most beautiful ending because I was in the here and now and I really enjoyed the blessing God gave me to be with her then. And I wasn't going to be distracted and all that. So, that time, that here and now has carried over into what I do, where I'm really more in the here and now than I ever have been. And I doubt I'm ahead of you or your book and Taming because a lot to learn. But it's a wonderful thing to enjoy the here and now. And I can speak to that from experience now, finally, in the most profound way. So thank you because I thought of you during those last days of her life. Like, I'm here with her now.
Well, that's a very generous thing, and it's hard for me to accept praise. That's a problem I have, but that's all you, Carl. And congratulations on finding that joy in it.
Well, I learned from you and Dr. Lieberman. Also, my friend Laura. Everybody knows Laura in Mexico is a dear friend. She's often travels with me. She lives with Parkinson's. She's doing extremely well. I've never met anybody who fights back against that disease more effectively than her. 12 years of Parkinson's, kicking butt, needing less levodopa now than ever because she exercises so much. She's choosing happy moments and she's living now. She has a phrase, it's called just live. So between you and her, I've learned a lot about living now. So we got about a minute and a half left till the next break. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take too much time here, Michael, but to me it was so profound. In fact, I'll tell you what happened. The story, when I was leaving her the last day she was conscious, because she died 24 hours after, she said, wait, don't go. I said, no, I'll see you tomorrow. No, don't go. She came back, she said, I'm sorry for all those things I made you do. I didn't need to hear that. It was nice to hear it. But what's more, she needed to get it off her chest. For her, it was a huge deal. Living in the here and now at that point and those moments actually erased all the things that happened. I have no, literally, I could think about it and think of some weird stuff when I was a kid. I have no bad memories now. Seriously. What a weight lifted. That's because I was in the here and now. And I guess maybe we'll go out to break with this, and then I'll stop talking so much on the next 2 segments.
No, this is you're promoting my book by talking about your experience and understanding the ideas in Taming the Molecule of More. It's not about just taming dopamine by itself. It's about getting through one's head that you have to live in the here and now. That's one of the
Absolutely.
best ways that we talk about taming the molecule, the anticipation,
Yeah,
getting past the siren call of anticipation to get to the
absolutely.
point of
We're
living in the
gonna
moment.
Gotta head to break, folks. We'll be right back here with Michael Long. We're back here on Your Health Matters News Radio 570 WSYR. And you can also tune in on FM 106.9 and hear us there too. So, our guest today is my friend Michael Long, and we're talking about his book that's going to be released on April 15th called Taming the Molecule of More. Why don't we talk about maybe some practical examples that maybe a lot of would be common experiences for people?
Yeah, I'm glad to do that, Carl, because there are, we've been talking about um, big life and death kind of things about how we approach the biggest questions of how we conduct our life. And that's a conversation we need to have with ourselves and with each other. But a lot of people are going to buy this book because they want to know I have a problem. And can you help me with that problem? And if you can't, give me a different book. So let me go through some of the things that people face on a daily basis. You and I have faced on a daily basis, I'm sure.
Sure.
Um, and I'll start in sort of the relationship area and move on from there. But let me give you just a few of these things. Um, uh, in the dating pool, why is it so hard to find someone? Why is it so hard to find someone who meets your desires, your needs? And what can I do to not lower my standards, but figure out what the hell I'm looking for?
Yeah.
That's one thing. And the way, if we understand dopamine, we can get through that. What is the appeal of dangerous men? A lot of women,
Mm.
and there are men who like, quote unquote, bad girls too. It works both ways. But what? But I think
Yeah,
women
that's
are
true.
especially, yeah, I think women are especially troubled by that feeling about, oh, why do I keep picking the wrong guy? Why do I pick this loser? There's a reason. It has to do with dopamine in part. Why do I settle for the wrong person? Moving
Mm.
beyond relationships, this book talks specifically about somebody who says, I shop too much. Sometimes it's
Mm.
online. Sometimes I'm getting in the car. I've come home with bags I never even open. Is there a way to stop doing that that doesn't involve going away for a weekend or taking a bunch of medicine? Is there a way? Yes, there's a way. I'm obsessing over the news. Now, how many people do you and I know who are lost in the news right now and have broken up friendships over this? And what's worse is they've come to the point where they've said this news is so important that it's actually worth breaking up friendships. Well, I don't happen to think it is, but I have a reason to believe that. I think there's a way that you can learn to prioritize your consumption of news and the way we believe that the news helps us in terms of advancing our virtues or our allyship or things like that. There are
Hmm.
ways to get through this by understanding what really is valuable and by setting some priorities. Is there a way to deal with the problem of online porn? This is an open secret among men, but between men and women, I don't think it's nearly as well known. Is there a way to deal with the challenge of the attraction of online porn? Yes, there is. Did you know that the online porn business is bigger than the NFL? It's bigger
Whoa.
than the NFL. That's how much money passes through this. And much
Man.
porn consumption is free. So that tells you just how pervasive this is. And if you're a man or a woman in far fewer cases, but still, who's dealing with online porn, and you go, and I'm going to be very candid here. So if you're listening with kids, maybe you could turn it down. I'm not going to say we're going to cut this out of your life. If that's what you want, you can do that. But if you say, I just use this too much, I'm a little more engaged than I'd like, there are ways, and this book talks about them, ways, specific ways to create alternative pathways through your day that will not rely on you just saying, well, there's nothing in this book that says, well, buck up, get up in your guts, get serious,
Hmm. Hmm.
just be more disciplined. That's not the answer.
Hmm.
The answer is to rearrange the way you conduct yourself and set up things before they happen.
Hmm.
Um, these are the kind of problems, practical, real problems with practical, real solutions, all based in the function of dopamine when it applies to the problem. If the
Hmm.
problem doesn't involve dopamine, I'm not going to talk about it. But pick up the book, you'll see that there's a big section in it. The whole middle goes through problem after problem after problem. that identifies a solution you can follow, various choices, so you can find your own solution through it. And that's a big chunk of what this book's about, Carl.
Yeah, I really like that. So, in my own, let's just take a couple examples. Like, I really, really love potato chips. I love Doritos. I love all of the bad chips there are. I don't know if there's such thing as a good chip.
I was going to say, there's no, there. You're saying bad chips. You got it
Yeah.
reversed, my friend. All chips are delicious.
Oh,
That's the
they are.
problem.
Oh, you like them too? Man, it's one of my favorite things. You get a burger, it's got chips instead of fries. I'll take the chips. Yeah, I love those. But so, especially lately, with some things going on here and some goals that I want to achieve, I really think I need to walk my talk that extra 15% that I'm not, because I walk my talk almost straight line, but I do take a detour here and there for the chips or the whatever. So what I have to, this is one of the ways, just if this sounds off track, please tell me. I have a saying that I try to live by. I've been doing very well recently. My weight's down, my belly's down, but I'm not losing muscle. I'm losing the extra fat. Is nothing tastes better than being fit and lean feels. Because I got accused for promoting eating disorders on that. It's not at all about eating disorder. This is about controlling your desire to grab that chip at 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, right before, bed, 9:30, 10 for me, because it just tastes so darn good and it also feels good. It doesn't just taste good.
Yeah,
But
and
then,
it's not about dopamine. It's about the consumatory joy of having something in your mouth. Yeah.
and knowing that they're there. I actually have an unopened bag that I haven't touched since I got back from Mexico City Friday. It's gonna be 72 hours when I get home, but I have not opened that bag. So I'm actually
That's
gonna go
dopamine.
see how long I can keep that bag closed. Because yeah, I know if I open the bag, I'm gonna eat the whole thing over a couple day period.
That's a very useful technique actually, um, and it's talked about in the book. If there's something that one of the things we know that can keep us on track in maintaining behaviors we want to maintain is this game of how long can I keep the chain going?
Mhm.
Uh, and if you say I'm gonna wait 72 hours to eat that bag, one of the things you can do is mark off every morning and afternoon how many more hours it is. Put it up
Mhm.
on the wall. Do a physical thing and say,
Yeah.
oh, or, you can count it down to the hours of 72, or you can count how many you have until you get to 72. I'm being quite serious about this. I talk about this in my book. Uh, and as you get closer to 72, you're going to find now you're thinking, oh, I've created sort of a harness for this anticipatory drive to lead me to this behavior. What
Mhm.
if I get to 72? I'll bet I could do 96. So you get
Oh,
another piece of paper
that's exactly what I plan to do.
and you can do
Is
this. And now you
all
have,
week. All week it won't get opened.
I don't know if you can see this. You probably can't, but this says 3,300. You can't see it. 3,347. That's the number of consecutive days I have studied French. That's
Oh,
almost
wow.
That's almost 10 years, and I have not missed a day. And
Good for
that
you.
number will still be solid when I pass off this earth. It will be hopefully it'll be like 10,000 or something.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of thousands.
Yeah. So
That's
so and that's motivating me to keep doing what I want to do instead of
oh
giving up. Oh,
wow.
it'll feel good to get to something. No, no, I just want to pursue. That's harnessing, taming dopamine.
Man, yeah, that's a great example too. I really like that. It just makes me think we've got to go to break in a half a minute, but I've been going to start learning some Korean because I work with a Korean gentleman who doesn't speak much English. And I thought I could at least learn push-ups, squats, 10 more reps. Anyways, well, we're going to come back, folks, after this break. with one more segment with Micheal Long, author of a new book, Taming the Molecule of More. You're listening to News Radio 570 WSYR. This is Your Health Matters. My name's Carl Sterling. See you in a minute. We are back with Micheal Long. It's always great to talk with you, Micheal.
Oh, Carl, you're the best, man.
One of these days, I'm going to get down there to DC. We'll do some lunch or something.
We will absolutely, we'll eat chips. That's what we'll do.
I will save, yeah, I'll save room for chips when I'm with you. That'd be great. So, do you like chips?
You know I do, brother.
Oh man, yeah. Have you ever met a chip you don't like?
I've never met a chip I don't like. I go to the store and that's my little treat because I've been losing weight for about a year and a half.
I
And
can
that's
tell, man. You look real. Like I said before we started recording, I interrupted you. I'm sorry, but you look
no,
lean. You look healthy. You look happy. This is
no,
good.
2 years ago I got on the scale. You know what it said? One at a time, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you have an interesting point here. Actually, maybe one of the most important things in the book has to do with this whole relationship of dopamine and taming that molecule, but also adding purpose to your life. Could you tell us about that, please?
This is what to me sets the book apart from other books about, you can make your life better. Here's how. This book goes through all the things that a set of problems, as I've said, that many of us face. And I explain some why it happens according to what we know about dopamine and how to tame dopamine to get a better life experience. But I mention all through the book that there's something missing even in these solutions, and that is we get later in life. I'm not going to say the end of life, but we get later in life, and we start to ask ourselves, why? What's the purpose of this? Well, I've done all these things that have made me happy. I've found some kind of self-discipline. I've found methods to not have to be so strong all the time and still succeed. And what I talk about in the book is that a life without purpose, a life without meaning is not going to be satisfying to you, no matter how successful you are at taming dopamine.
Yeah.
And so what I say is that, and this there's a lot of not just data, but a lot of philosophers, a lot of psychotherapists who talk about this as well, is it's not enough to just say, well, I'm going to tame my anticipation. It is, I have to find a way to balance the anticipation that pushes me to do great things. This dopamine thing drives us to succeed, but I have to enjoy the moment I'm in. And the things I do in the moment have to matter. They have to matter. And so when I get to the end, I say, here's what you really want to do. You want to find what it is that you love to do, okay? In fact, you can just practically make a literal list of things you love to do.
Mhm.
Then make a literal list of the things you're good at. Where do those things cross? Okay.
Mhm.
Now you have a list of the things that you're good at that you enjoy. And it could be, I'm very good at mathematics. I'm very good at arithmetic. I can write. I can do magic. All these
Oh,
things.
cool, man.
And then there are things that I don't like to do that I'm good at, like copy editing. I don't like to do copy editing, but I'm good at it. And then there
Yeah.
are things that I love to do that I'm not any good at, like playing the guitar. I'm terrible at playing the guitar, but I enjoy that. So that wouldn't be on the list. So now I have a list of things I'm good at that I enjoy. Okay. Now I want to set that aside because I'm going to come back to it. And I want to think about deeply and talk with my friends, talk to you, talk to people. What is it that matters to me in the end? What is it that is the most important? Is it I want the world to know more justice. I want to advance the base of knowledge that we have. I just want to see a kinder world. That's a
Oh,
virtue. I just want
yeah.
to see. I want people to feel more loved. I want
Mhm.
people to feel less alone. And then you figure out which of those virtues matter to you the most, and you ask, of these things I'm good at that I love to do, which of those advance those virtues? And if
Yeah.
you spend your hours doing those things, then you're going to have purpose in your life. And understand, We are not talking about going out and serving soup to poor people. That's a noble thing, but that's not how we get through the day. It could be, I'm really good at plumbing. Oh, good. And I love to do plumbing. If that's you, then how does that advance the purpose of your life? Well, you provide a good service at a fair price to people who need it. You know how rare it is to find somebody who provides a service at a fair price
Yeah,
and who
right.
is good
Uh-huh.
at it? Then all of a sudden
Yes.
you're fulfilling your higher purpose. It's not about nobility. It's not about philosophy. It's about doing things that make a difference in people's lives from moment to moment. And now you're living to tame the molecule more because your anticipation is harnessed toward the
Mm,
truly good. And it satisfies you in the moment at the same time. Both are balanced, and that's the solution.
man, that's powerful, Michael. You said plumbing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hate
plumbing.
plumbing, but I'm good at it.
I got a problem for you. Come on over.
No, I'm not coming over. You're my friend, but no.
If you got, I mean, it's anything, people talk about, oh, it's just a job. It's
Oh, it's
not
funny.
just a job. It's
Yeah,
not just a job. The marketplace exists to connect people with needs and
yeah.
people who have things to provide, and we provide mutual benefit to each other. It's not at all, when people talk about virtue and
Mhm.
nobility, it doesn't have to be about, learned men and women in robes. It's
Yeah,
about doing practical things for each other to our mutual benefit. And when we find those things and live that way, this problem tends to fade into the wallpaper.
yeah, man. See, you got me thinking here because well, we'll talk about this in overtime. I don't want to take up prime time with my thought here, but the virtue aspect I think is so important. Actually, I will say this: as I get older, especially since mom passed away, uh, she wanted me to continue on this path of what I do with the movement disorders, memory, movement, cognition rehab, and uh, I like what I do a whole lot, but it has to have effect out the door. When people come in here, what we do here has got to transfer out the door with them. So that's one thing. But it's more than that. It's like what we could go through motions. Well, I could talk all day about this, but we could just go through motions and provide somewhat as a service. We really want to dig into what works best, and it has to matter. All things do matter, even, just time. Just I have four grandchildren, one in the oven due in June. So I mean, time with them matters. I can't be distracted when I'm with them because they're already growing up too fast. It's crazy.
This stuff about what matters, that's where if I could give people one idea to really put your arms around, is that you got to broaden that definition of what matters. I've always loved this idea. Think about when you're back in school. You're a kid in grade school and you're going to lunch. Do you want the lunch lady who puts that on the tray to be going, "Look, here it is, look, here it is," or do you want her to smile at you because she likes making lunch for kids?
Yeah, yeah,
That matters.
yeah, it
And when
does.
she's 90 years old and she's on her deathbed, she's not going to have to say, "My life didn't matter." Her life did matter.
Yeah.
Her life absolutely mattered because she mattered to those children in the moment. Do they remember for the rest of their lives? No, but it carved away the bad parts. It made the better parts stronger. It matters. And that's what it means to matter. It means to give people a little more joy in the moment, a little bit more freedom to anticipate what matters down the road. Everything can matter if you choose to make it so.
That is just beautiful, man. I tell you, every time I talk with you, I get so my mind opens up, which I really appreciate. It actually brought to light something I was thinking of that I forgot. So I'll say it now is that I talk about this on the show often. By the way, we have 1 minute to go, folks, before we're hard stop and we're out. But I have good news. We're going to overtime. So Michael's going to join me for an overtime. You go to carlsterling.net, look for the episode, find it there. Taming the Molecule of More. We got another few minutes coming after this.
Got to promote the book in the
Our,
moment, the
our
here and now. I'm going to promote the book.
right now, here and now, we're promoting Taming the Molecule of More by Michael Long, and this is going to be released April 15th, 2025. With that said, we all have a last day coming, folks. The day will come upon us when we are only conscious for that we're up until that last day, and then who knows, hopefully we dive fast, but not too soon. But hopefully when we get there, we can look back and say that what we did mattered. And that's really my goal. So we need to head out, folks. It's News Radio 570 WSYR. Micheal Long is with us. Go to overtime. Okay. carlsterling.net. This is Your Health Matters. We'll see you soon. See you next week.
All right.
Okay, we are on overtime. Our guest is Micheal Long. We're talking about taming the molecule of more. We're talking about dopamine in his new book that's coming out on April 15th. So it's funny, April 14th is my son's birthday. April 15th is my granddaughter's birthday, and April 16th is the third year from when I got baptized. So I got three biggies in a row.
Yeah, what a great gift for all 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. After being an atheist for 58 years. So anyway, you mentioned something that I kind of like to touch on: happiness, loneliness. And I don't talk politics on the show, but I'm going to say something I think is probably true. It's just an observation. No matter where you stand, middle, right, left, I think even post inauguration, I think we're probably more divided than ever as a nation because of what's going on. And I don't want to talk about Trump or anybody and what they're actually doing, he's doing or whatever. I just want to say that the divide is getting deeper. I don't know if you would agree with me on that. And you're in the DC area. Is there anything different going on there and how people are feeling on both sides?
I worked in politics for a long time and really kind of walked away from it because it didn't make me fulfilled. I appreciate people on both sides. I really do. I appreciate people on both sides who feel passionately about what they believe, and they feel it because they want to make life better for other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think where I part with from part with people on all across the spectrum is that I believe that for anything to get better, it has to be your own choice. So
Yeah.
anything that involves any kind of even indirect coercion is something that I'm going to look askance at. It's more of a band-aid than I've always said the problem. A lot of systems can work, but the problem isn't the system. The problem is the people. It's us.
Mm-hmm.
We approach everything from the question of what's in it for me, and even when we're being generous with other
Excuse me.
people, there is a portion of that is, well, we're being generous because that's that fulfills our desire. So it doesn't make it any less impactful for the person who receives our generosity. But I do think that we can get caught up in politics in the dopamine chase.
Yeah.
There's an old phrase that I'll use, and it says, "Don't immanentize the eschaton." And what that
Mm.
means, if maybe you've heard it, it just means don't try to create heaven on earth today. Uh, it's
Yeah.
enough. Don't make imminent the perfection, the eschaton. And what we can do is, and this is so much comfort to me and to other people I know, is that we don't have to read a book or anything, but in this case, read a book and go, well, this is gonna fix my life completely. Let me
Yeah.
tell you
Right.
what, my book is not gonna fix your life completely.
Mhm.
If you set out with that, you're going to be disappointed. And that's true of every book and every speaker and every person. They will always let you down some way. But what my book will do and what other books will do, but my book in particular, is it'll give you a
Absolutely.
way to fix a little thing. It'll
Hmm.
make you a little better. And that's all you got to do. Get a little better. Tomorrow you get a little better different. If we all took care of our own little world and then reached out just a tiny bit, we wouldn't have the problems we have. The
Yeah.
idea is to take care of what we can take care of and forgive ourselves for not being supermen.
Yeah. Well, choices. I'll talk about choices for a minute. Here's just one kind of a little bit off the wall example, but I don't think it's that off the wall. our phones are trained to what we like. For example, I go on Instagram and I go on YouTube, especially both of those, especially Facebook too, but more so the first two for me. I choose to scroll, find comedy, and lately I'm into a Rodney Dangerfield kick, right? So for about a month, I wake up, I watch Rodney, and I can't tell a joke to save my life. Nobody laughs because they're not so funny, but when he says them, they're really funny, right? So,
He was the best.
but I do have bad dad joke Friday here where I practice in front of people. It's a kind of like a joke, but it is fun. Um, versus so I get comedy and I get a lot of neuroscience stuff and whatever from my business. Take another person, I'll just say somebody in my family, I won't say who. That phone is trained for all the bad news that's going on right now. If you choose, I mean, you can go in and you can find bad news on both sides. You can find it in any area, any arena, political, health, this, that, whatever. That person is very disturbed and very angry. Why don't you read this stuff? It's important. It's like, I don't watch the news because if it was that important, somebody's going to tell me about it. God forbid, somebody gets shot, dies. I won't know first, but I will know if it's gonna, that important. And that's usually the way it goes. And this way I free myself of that. So I have actually no idea how this ties in with taming the molecule, but I think it does though, because I could be looking forward anticipatory to bad news and getting more of it. Some people want to hear that. They actually do want to hear the bad
Of
news.
course.
But right now I'm into Rodney Dangerfield and neuroscience, and I'm anticipating every time I scroll, what's the next? What's the next one? And then I have trouble stopping scrolling because I'm anticipating another, 1 minute of something, right? So
Yeah.
I guess it
Guys,
is.
1 minute of something is exactly right. This next thing I see will be better than the thing I just saw. Let, let me
Yes.
tell you, you hit on something inadvertently. In the book, I talk about a personal experience that I had in 2017, and that was I cut myself off completely from all news for a period of 1 year. Now, to quote Parks and Recreation, I know what you think I said. You think I said I didn't listen to much news for a year. No, I tuned my devices and everything else to completely shut me off of all news. And for 1 year, I didn't even see headlines. And I
Mhm.
talk about my experience, what I learned from it, what it was like, and what it tells us about the power of dopamine to draw us toward the next thing and how it feels to have that thing denied, how it can
Mhm.
improve your life. My
Mhm.
my complete and utter news starvation for a year, I describe at length in the book. It's pretty useful.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know anyone
great.
else who's done it.
I've heard of people cutting off, not for that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the devices, they're trained. I mean, the algorithm picks up what you look at, and the more you look at it, the more it gives you of that type of thing. So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got Rodney things coming at me left and right. It's great. Something like the cook is so bad at our house, we pray after we eat. Oh, you gotta love that guy, man. No, sorry. She is a great cook. I'm telling you right now. So um let's can we go a little bit on I was thinking about society in relation to would you say at all that society itself to some degree and in some way is shaped by dopamine driven technology, advertising, consumer culture, if you will? Is that a real thing? I mean, it seems like a real thing.
Uh, there's no such thing as society. There's only individuals, and we make choices, and some of us happen to make the same choices, and we are
Okay.
influenced by the choices of other individuals. But there is no such thing as society. There's no such
Oh,
thing as community. There's only people making choices. That's all.
Wow.
Have you ever made a decision that you said, first, let me ask 75 strangers what they think about? No,
No.
you never have.
No,
But
I have not done that.
the choices you understand or believe that they made have influenced your choice. If you want to call that society for shorthand, go ahead, but it puts a layer between you and the truth. The truth is that you make a decision and they made a decision. If they were influenced by true or false beliefs of a collective assumption or an assumption about the collective, call it society if you like, but
Wow.
we're all alone right here. This is you. You said you got baptized recently. Well, that's one of
Mhm.
the lessons of Christianity is nobody can do that for you. Society can't do that for you. You can stand in a room full of Christians. That doesn't make you a Christian. You have
Mhm.
to make a decision. You have to make a
Mhm.
choice. And that's true of every religion. It's true of everything. You can stand in a room full of fat people. If you don't eat, you're not going to get fat. So what society does, that's society's problem. And I choose to believe it doesn't even exist because I don't like the word.
Michael, that might be one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. I never, this is like goes into the arena of things I didn't know I could know, or I didn't know I could think of things like I never thought of society as not being a thing or community. Um,
No,
but
I have to say before you go any further, I have to say I'm not damning the things that we associate. The good quality is we associate with, oh, I want to be a part of community. I want to be a part of society. Of course you do, but don't mistake that for taking the burden off your shoulders to make a decision to be responsible, to choose to be good or bad.
see, well, yeah, it does really come down to our own individual actions. Something we talk about a lot here on the show. Your choices matter.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
all of them matter to some. It could be a little tiny thing, but it's going to matter somehow. And
I'm lousy at so many of the things I'm talking about. I'm lousy at it. I'm not offering myself as an example. Please don't follow me. Do not. I know what the answers are supposed to be. I'm a Christian, but I always tell people I'm not very good at it. Um, it- you got to make your own decisions. You're so on it, Carl, when you say choices. It's our choices. When we embrace those choices, knowing things like we are greatly driven by dopaminergic anticipation that can lead us to do things that in the long run don't matter, don't make us feel better. That's what I've written about
no,
the past 10 years has been this notion of the dangers of too much, of the dangers of being romanced by anticipation.
yeah, I used to be the king of that.
Sure,
So
you were into all the bad things. You talk about
eat, drink, be miserable. But in the moment, though, in the moment, it
it.
was
In the
okay.
moment. In the
Uh,
moment.
uh, and then it's over, and then you have a hangover, and then it's fat.
It's like the man
So
falling off a building, all the way down. So far, so good. So far, so good.
it's not the fall that hurts; it's a sudden stop, right?
That's right. Exactly right, sir.
So far, so you got some great ones. I love that. Um, So some of this, I was thinking about something that was kind of a cliche thing. Oh yeah, choices. We all hear about that, right? Oh, well, got it. It's all about your choices. I used to get sick of hearing that because it couldn't be about my choices, but it was all about my choices. And I had to come to grips with that. Well, my story on that, people know about it, so I'm not going to waste any time talking about it, but it just had to do with I was in bad health. I had some really serious problems, and I was going down the road of, early grave. Oh, I don't want that to happen. So now I've never felt better or stronger in my entire life. My VO2 max score is better than it's ever been. I'm stronger. I can out cardio most people half my age. I'm not special, but I had to work for it.
You had to work for it.
I
You
had to
chose
work
to.
for it. I chose to work for it, and I continue to choose to work for it because, damn it, I'm not going to get old. I made a decision last month. I stopped aging. Another choice. At least in my mind, I feel like I'm 25. My body feels good, just ready to rock and roll, But well, let's talk just a little bit more. If you have a couple more minutes, do you have any let's say takeaway message? If there's if you were to sum everything up into words of advice for listeners and viewers, what do you say?
The most common problems of 21st century life are addressable but you have to choose to address them. And what I hope we've done with the first book, we've explained why that's so. The second book, I've explained how to make that better, how to make your life a little better, whether it's romance, whether it's sex, whether it's obsession, whether it's food, whether it's behaviors, shopping, gaming, porn, whatever. These things are driven by an abundance of anticipation. Our
Yeah.
brains were built to push us toward better things in the future. But unless we can tame that urge, we're going to be unhappy and we're going to be without meaning. And you
Right.
can do something about it. You don't have to do much to feel a whole lot better. A little effort yields a big payoff.
It's very true. It's so true. I've experienced that in multiple ways. I mean, dopamine, without it, we'd probably be dead, right? Because you got to have it. The
So
reproduction,
it,
survival.
well, survival, yeah, it keeps us. It kept early man alive. What it does is all it does is make you curious about something that's unusual around you. So I better investigate that. That's
Mhm.
what all this boils down to. There's something different, and I better check it out because it might be useful. Well, that's how survival is driven. It could be something to eat, could be something that's going to hurt me, and I got to defend myself. And now we
Yeah.
don't need that anymore. But our bodies are still, our brains rather, are still tuned to. Ooh, there's something unknown in front of us. Let's go check it out. I'll bet it will make me happy. I'll bet it'll make me better.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have one thing to add here. I want to talk about a lady in England who I know was teaching there. Well, one of the times I was over there, she has Parkinson's. So we're getting into a dopamine deficiency there. And
It's a
I've
different
had,
function of dopamine. Got to point that out to people. Dopamine has several functions,
yes,
and one of them is a motor function. That's where
yeah,
Parkinson's comes up. It's
yeah,
not related to what we're talking about, but it is a dopamine function.
yes. So dopamine, with the lack of dopamine, we can have a lack of motivation with certain people with Parkinson's, unless they're on a proper dose of a dopamine replacement, which is nothing like the real thing, but it can be very helpful uh, with diminishing symptoms, motor symptoms, and maybe increasing motivation to do anything.
Right.
But just a word out about this is if you live with a condition like Parkinson's or maybe MSA or something where you're going to have levodopa cinnamate as your uh, replacement dopamine, and you start binge gambling, shopping, hypersexual, all that stuff, go see your neurologist because you probably have too much dopamine. The lady I'm speaking of, I won't say her name. She wanted to buy one purse, so she went on eBay. It's like 10 years ago. Ended up bidding on 97 purses, won 79 of the bids, had to pay for them all. Her husband's like, "Where's all the money?" Well, I got a problem. I couldn't stop shopping. Went to the doctor, got the dosage regulated. Boom, no more gambling, no more eBay shopping. But holy cow, man, it really can mess with us, right?
It
So,
certainly can. Just the way you said, and there's help. There's help.
yeah,
If you got something that's really messing with your life, don't go buy my book. Okay, go call a doctor.
yeah, it's true.
Because there's no reason for you to suffer, man. It just kills me. I dealt with mental illness myself. There's severe anxiety and panic, and there wasn't medicine when I was younger to help me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
thank goodness, I've been fine for a long time.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
glad.
but please don't. I say to my students, I teach at Georgetown University. I say to my students every semester at the start of every semester, what's most important is you shouldn't suffer because there's help for you. And I said, you can call the student hotline if you want, and they'll help you. You can call me. And then I write my cell number on the board. And I say, here, call me. I keep my phone by my bed. I'll come to you. We'll go get. I said, if you're having a problem right now, we'll call off this class and I'll take you where you need to go. There's
Mhm.
nothing more important than dealing with the end of that kind of suffering. And if my book can help people feel better, then I just want people to be able to discover some of the things that I've been able to learn about the way dopamine can snatch around your life. And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be. There's joy just ahead.
Yeah. Well, man. Well, Michael, it's always a great pleasure to talk with you. I'm really glad I know you. One of these days we'll meet in person.
Yes.
Thanks again for joining me.
You do me a great pleasure by letting me talk about it here with you and with your listeners. And I hope everybody will check out tamingthemolecule.com.
Yep.
You can read a little bit more there, and always listen to Carl. He's always got good stuff.
Well, we try, and you make it better for us. I had dopamine hitting me as I anticipated our interview today. As I gotta hit start. Michael's coming on. Seriously. Well, I'm gonna stop the record button. Just hang with me for a minute if you don't mind. But everyone, thanks so much for listening. As always, I appreciate your listening and putting us at the top of the charts as being a very, very, very popular show. I am grateful for all of you who listen every week. It's just amazing to me. And the other thing that's cool, Michael's a lot of people, they go out and they buy the books that we talk about on the show. So like they're coming in here, they're texting me, they're emailing, they're saying, "Hey, here's what I learned from this book. Here's what I learned from this book." So I know I'm going to get people. It happened on this book too. Even though I talked to you way after it came out, we still have people go out and get it. So it's really cool. So whatever we can help to do to help the world. All right. Thanks again, my friend. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back at again next week here on News Radio 570 WSYR. Your Health Matters. My name's Carl Sterling, and be sure to remember to move your body and exercise your brain every single day. Have a great week.